Elden Ring has a good number of dungeons. Quite a few of them are forgettable, since there are simply so much. There are a lot of bad ones, some dungeons that are simply annoying and tedious to even think about. But I already made a video on that. This time I'll be showing you lovely little bastards, the good dungeons in Elden Ring. And that is said very loosely, because let's be honest, nobody will be scratching at their neck, looking for their next Elden Ring dungeon dive. Most dungeons are just repeats, and not very interesting to go through after the first time. The first one is the Ozuria Hero's Grave. This one isn't that unique, since there's a few just like it. And let's be honest, this one isn't in here because of the bosses. Last thing I ever want is to ever fight not one, but 2 Crucible Knights. So the boss fight is annoying and very reused. But what is nice is that halfway down the chariot pathway, you can look up and throw a rock through a window, which will hit a pillar, and after a moment, a light will spawn a chariot, destroying all 3 of them, which gives you some free rewards. The Tree Sentinel armor set. Very nice. Like I said, I'm using the term good very loosely, but most dungeons are genuinely just bland, so it's little stuff like this that makes me smile. Now the next one is the hidden path to the Halig Tree. Again, very loose with the term good here. But I like this one, because you can essentially just skip it. Some people probably don't even know that this dungeon has a boss. I always liked the invisible platforms in Souls games, except for the ones at Seath in Dark Souls. But other than that, I think it's kind of fun, so I was extremely happy to see it here. If you just drop down from the broken railing and walk across the invisible platform, you can head down some neat invisible stairs and jump down and into a window, blah blah blah. Then you get to the boss room, and it's unfortunately just a fucking mimic tear. That's a bit disappointing, but I still think it's neat nonetheless. The reward for the dungeon is a death root, which is needed for the Beast Clergyman's quest. Alright, now that we're done with those 2, we're getting into the real good ones here. Ones that aren't annoying, ones that are a bit beautiful maybe, and ones that are unique. Starting with the Cave of Forlorn in the consecrated snowfields. This one doesn't have anything unique about it, except that it's absolutely beautiful. You can see some of the jellyfish below you under the ice, and something about it gives off a vibe that I love. It's a bit annoying that all the enemies are beasts from Farum Azula, since they're pretty tedious and boring. But the vibe is there, and that's more that can be said for most of the other dungeons. Then the boss is a Farum beast, which also blows ass, but he's obviously not hard, and when he dies, you get the Golden Order Greatsword, which no one uses, but it's cool nonetheless, and it's a legendary weapon, so I think it counts towards an achievement. Now onto a unique dungeon, the Sainted Hero's Grave. This one is a bit annoying towards the end, for a reason I'll explain when we get there. But there's a few enemies in this dungeon that are just shadows. You can't hit them at all. In fact, you'll just roll through them, but they can hit you. The only way to damage these enemies is by luring them into the light emitted from the statues. It's pretty hard to miss, since a giant ass symbol is shown on the floor where the light lands. But after progressing the dungeon for a little bit, you'll fall through the ground, get violated, then head into a corridor with falling blades. The enemies here are very affectionate and love to give kisses, so make sure you collect as many as you can, since I know your ass was lonely on Valentine's Day. The least you can do is make your white day a happy one. Anyway, to open the door to the boss, you need to go up a giant ladder and then across the bridge, and you'll see him.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
This duelist bastard is a shadow, and as you may have noticed, there's no other light around, other than the one in the previous room you fell down into. You have to waddle your ass back there, while not dying to this son of a bitch, or the falling blades. And once you get to the top of the stairs, he'll start backing up, meaning you now have to bait attacks out of him and get him to move forward. So make sure your dodge game is on point, and once he gets into the circle of light, he is now available to violate and assault, and he should be scared, because it will be explicit in nature.
Nice.
Anyway, the boss isn't much. It's just an ancient hero of Zamor, and he drops the ancient dragon knight Kristoff's spirit ashes. And now, finally, the absolute best dungeon in Elden Ring, the Ozuria side tomb, which is directly across from the Ozuria hero's grave. This one is so high up, because just like the last one, it is unique. At the very least, I can't think of another dungeon that doesn't this gimmick. I'm sure there's probably one, but whatever, I like this one. So this dungeon's gimmick is trap chest. Every single chest in this dungeon is a teleporter chest, which obviously means you'll be teleported throughout the dungeon by opening the chests. And there's a few places you can only reach by going through the correct chest. I won't tell you which chests to use to get to the boss, because suffering is half the fun. But you'll get a lot of cracked pots within this dungeon, and you'll be teleported into a room with 2 warrior jars that haven't had new innards in far too long. But the best part is by far the boss. It's just another fucking duelist. I feel almost bad for these guys. None of them are difficult in any way, except for the one in the consecrated snowfields that's next to an angry bear. But these guys are practically just a spittoon for the tarnished to spit in. They're a damn joke. It's kind of just sad, but at least the reward is cute. You get the spirit summons of the exploding jars, something I'm sure you'll never use. But what do I know? Anyway, if you watched until this point, then thanks for sticking around. If you found this video a bit stupid and absolutely correct, then please consider giving this video a like and subscribing. It would really help out the channel and mean a lot to me. Until next time.